Greetings, Minecrafters, and welcome to another Minecraft discussion on this gloriously rainy day out here at the Notch. We like to go way back there, little G and I, as you know. So my name is Kimberly Quinn, and today I'm inspired by Mel Robbins. I sort of was flipping through, and I'm up really early. I feel like I've slept in if it makes it to 6 a.m. It just feels like the day got by me, kind of thing. So anyway, I was up early and listening to her, and she was talking about this thing about fear and excitement, and it's actually some work I've done also, just labeled it differently. And because the episode also, I think I wrote a Psychology Today article on it. Anyway, it's about developing a positive stress mindset, which is how I labeled it. But really, we're talking about the same thing, because Mel was talking about, it's bow season. We got smart about it. Put on a little it says mindfulness goat, which could be a little confusing for anybody who reads it. But anyway, it keeps them safe and during bow hunting season. Okay, so Mel was talking about fear and excitement and how they're the same feeling, viscerally speaks, the body-wise. Body-wise, it doesn't know the difference between fear and excitement. It's the only difference is how the brain labels it, right? Because the brain, in its repertoire memory bank of when it knows it's afraid of something, and when we know that we're excited about something, there are different memories attached to those things, but the feeling in the body is actually the same. So Mel, of course, is spot on with that. And when I did my whole thing on the positive stress mindset, it was about changing your words, because the feeling's the same. So let's say my classic example is if let's say a student has a presentation, or a seasoned grown-up has a presentation out in the professional world, and they've put all kinds of effort in and everything else, and then it's getting closer and closer, and they're starting to feel afraid, nervous and afraid, like anxious, afraid, and all the what if starts, all the what if dialogue starts with, what if I lose my words, what if one of my teammates doesn't show up, what if they get sick and can't make it, and they're a key part of the whole thing, and if it's a student, will I be graded the same? If it's a professional thing, will it come off as well and be as impressive after we put in all this work? What if it doesn't, what if we give it our best and it doesn't go well, and somebody else steals the show and gets the promotion or whatever, and all that stuff starts. So rather than get into all the fear-based what-if thinking and catastrophizing, about losing your notes or whatever, worst case scenario stuff, instead of that, changing the words. It may sound so silly that it can be this simple, but it is. And remember, with my Minecrafters, is it that simple? Yes. Is it that easy? Not necessarily. It is this simple. So since the brain, it's really what we're telling the brain. So as far as the heart racing and all the limbic system stuff, and the cortisol being released to all the stress hormones and everything, that also happens when an Olympic athlete is waiting for the gun to go off, so she can start running the race of her life. It's all the same stuff with the heart rates and the blood and all that stuff. So blood pumping. And so when we tell ourselves before the presentation, rather than, I'm really nervous about this, I'm really anxious about this, I'm really stressed about this, God, I'm so afraid this might happen, that might have happened, I'm so afraid this might happen or that might happen. Instead of that, when we say, I have worked so hard on this, I am so excited to deliver this presentation. And remember that as smart as we are, okay, the brain is tricked rather easily, thankfully, in some ways anyway. So I'm so excited. When we change the words, it changes how the brain labels it, which then changes how we respond. Because remember, thoughts first, feelings second. So when we start to kind of trick the brain into realizing that it's excited, again, same body response, it changes the whole outlook. You just keep saying it over and over. I'm so excited. Even if you're excited about the presentation, you're excited to do it and show your stuff, all the work you did. It might be that you're excited to have it be over. That's also okay. I'm so excited to have closure with this, so like next week I can do the rest of the stuff I've been wanting to do, and I'm so excited to have this behind me. Or if it's a test or whatever, so it's just so important. Mel Robbins also does this thing, she calls it 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which I use sometimes just to launch myself out of bed. And I'm pretty excited to get up in the morning, but it is fun. So sometimes I'll do that, especially when it's cold, because we're in northern Vermont, we heat with wood, so sometimes, early in the morning, it's a little chilly. So that's usually when it works the best. And I'll do, okay, go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, launch. I even say the word launch. Swing around, my feet hit the ground. That's why I do my thank you and my thank you. Spine intact, feet intact, hands, arms, eyes intact, everything. Just thank you. But the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 launch works like a charm. I have to give her that. It really does. She also uses it with this fear versus excitement thing. So she did one thing when she was actually getting ready to go on stage for something, to do a talk, and there's like 7,000 people out there. I don't know, but she was doing her thing. And she took the time, which I certainly appreciated, to do an in the moment kind of thing versus talking about it before or after the fact. She was right about to go on stage. And she said, here I go, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then, and then with the only thing I would add to that is some deep breathing. If it would be me, it'd be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. I would do the deep breathing thing. But either way, it works really, really well. The breathing obviously brings us into the present moment, which takes us out of the fear of the future and out of whatever happened in the past and there, other circumstances that didn't go well, whatever. So the breathing is a neurological reset, an immediate neurological reset. So I would just add that part. And then Mel also talked about something that can help, which she refers to as an anchor thought. And I've referred to these in various episodes about allowing that good feeling and kind of priming the mind. That's what I call it. But it's the same. Her word is just different than mine. Priming the mind. We can prime the mind, and we can prime our whole day by priming the mind. So she talks about, if you're getting ready to do a presentation, again, fill in the blank with whatever it is that you were feeling fearful about and are now about to feel excited about. And she talks about having an anchor thought, which means something pleasant. Pick a good memory and that involves a good feeling, a really good feeling. Let's say after the presentation on Thursday, maybe you're headed out for a long weekend, and think about when you've gotten away in the past, and picture your people. Maybe it was with a partner and your kids, and something that you have to look forward to later, and feel the good feeling of what that has been like for you in the past. Then let the goodness in, because it really helps to get the brain in a good place. I'm just a big fan of, in the anchor thought, I like the words of, because that's about priming. It's about shifting out of that fear-based thinking with the words like we just said, and then pulling our mind out of it with a pleasant thought. The other thing is with that counting thing that Mel did, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In general, when we excuse me, sort of bring in some conscious thinking, just like when anyone's nervous about anything, it then sort of stirs up the prefrontal cortex, because if the fear is all in the limbic system, which is in the middle of the brain, and the prefrontal cortex is the rational part of the brain. So the limbic system is just the knee-jerky, fear-based, reactive part of us. It also keeps us alive, so you don't want to throw it out, for sure. But the prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain right here, like right behind the forehead, that says, you know what, let's just breathe for a second. You've done presentations before. They've generally gone really well. People are also here because they're excited to see you. Da-da-da-da-da, calm, calm, calm. Okay, well, when we're in limbic mode, the prefrontal cortex is like in a hammock between two trees, sipping a margarita, or maybe we shouldn't say that, sipping a lemonade, and just not, the limbic system's doing its own thing. Kind of like when you leave, teenagers at home for the weekend, which hopefully you don't do. Well, then they're just like, woohoo. So when the prefrontal cortex is offline, which it is when we're full of limbic system fear-based thinking, when we enter conscious thought into the mix, it pulls us into a little bit more rational place. So that's also important with this whole thing. So speaking of going out for doing a presentation or whatever it is we're fear-based now excited about, is I've done this with one of my kids when she just gets in that mode. And the counting thing is great. The one suggestion I would say, if it's when you're about to do whatever, is to start counting backwards from, let's say, like 500 by sevens or nines, because that'll really awaken the prefrontal cortex. It's like, okay, all hands on deck. We got to count now. Come down to my nines and sevens. And the brain obviously is really good at patterns and picks it up quickly. So you may have to shift that and start back from 847 and count back by threes. But that is a very, very fast reset if for like right before whatever you're about to do. Okay, so that's it. Fear versus excited. Remember, it is the same exact feeling in the body. It just matters how you label it in the mind. Prime your mind with a good memory, and if you need to, stir up your prefrontal cortex, the rational part of you that knows it's all going to be okay, with some conscious thoughts, such as counting backwards from a large number by sevens or threes or nines, something that's not so easy like twos. Okay, that's it. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from the beautiful, rainy northern Vermont with Little G and his mindfulness goat vest. All right, have a mindful day.